Maddie Rempe from Cleveland, Ohio, and you're listening to BBQ Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live.
Okay.
Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening, and welcome to the Really Big BBQ Central Show, a show that talks about all the things that are important to the world of live fire barbecue, cooking and grilling, and so forth, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here. If you want to jump in on the show, rarely does anybody. What? If you want to jump in on the show tonight via email or phone call, this is how you contribute.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show, you can hit the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, we will find first Tuesday of the month, regularly cemented guest, the creator of How to BBQ Right, the pitmaster of Killer Hogs competition barbecue team, and overall good guy, friend of the show, Malcom Reed, will join me. And we will talk about a few different topics, a couple recipes that he has up on his How to BBQ Right YouTube and webpage that we'll talk about. And then on his most recent podcast, Heath Riles and Malcom were talking, not a lot, but a decent amount about barbecue trailers. And I said, well, if you're in the market, that means somebody else in this wide sweeping world of live fire might be in the market. And actually, as the newsletter rolled out and I started to get some feedback coming back in from the Centralites, a few people said, hey, I'm actually in the market for a barbecue trailer right now, so I'm looking forward to this conversation you're going to be having with Malcom Reed. So I would hazard a guess that Malcom is not a pro. He's not buying, Heath Riles, if you listen to Malcom's podcast, he buys a new trailer custom-made every 2 years, but he is in the barbecue business per se, and part of that business is cycling out the barbecue trailer every couple of years. He gets the depreciation out of it, then he kicks it to the curb, gets a brand new one in order to take advantage of that depreciation from a tax standpoint. However, there is a need to consult and ask questions, and Malcom is currently in the market, so we'll talk to him about how he's buying a barbecue trailer or what he's looking for, and why is he buying a barbecue trailer. If you listen to some folks, they would sit there and say that barbecue trailers and motorhomes are contributing to the lack of growth and lack of enthusiasm of competition barbecue. So all things that we will talk about with Malcom here in about 10 minutes. Then we will move to 35 past the hour, and we will welcome back who will now be a second-time guest. She is a steak cooking champion. She's on her way down to Fort Worth, Texas this coming weekend to take part in the Steak Cook-Off Association's World Championship in Fort Worth. And on top of all that, last week, inducted into the 2019 BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame, I am, of course, talking about Angel Todd, if you can believe it or not. So we'll be talking to Angel about, obviously, the huge upcoming contest in Fort Worth and where the nerve's at. If you would recall, Angel is a whopping 17 years old and seeing success to a fair amount on the Steak Cooking Association circuit. Also, her dad is a competitive barbecue cook and competitive steak cook, and both Angel and her dad are SCA reps and do contests. So very well accomplished at a young age and going up against the best of the best this coming weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about that, hype it up, and then we'll look back at some of the other contests she's done since the Hartville win. And maybe she'll even talk a little bit about the huge distinction of being part of that guest Hall of Fame for the BBQ Central Show this year of 2019, part of that class. And that will round out the first hour. Then we will head to the second hour, where we will find a returning and what was a very regular guest back in the beginnings of the show, probably for the first 4 and 5 years, maybe even longer than that. A hugely respected journalist, maybe if not by anybody, at least by me, and that's all that counts. Somebody who has broken many stories, has a lot of insights and contacts, and from all accounts, again, hugely respected in the industry. And I don't know how many barbecue journalists, a lot of writers, a lot of opinionated people like myself, but I hate writing, so I would never write. But a lot of opinion makes, but Derek, to me, is the essence of journalist. And we will revisit with the one and only Derek Riches, who also happens to be a BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame inductee for the class of 2019. So we will catch up with Derek. We'll also talk about the recent, it's not a huge reveal yet, but it is being leaked out here and there, is that Weber pellet cooker. Derek did an article on it last week, I believe, so we'll obviously spend some time talking about the new Weber pellet cooker that may or may not be hitting the market next year at some point. And then we will wrap the show with longtime sponsor, hugely successful competition cook, hugely successful rub, injection, sauce, and grilling oil manufacturer, Dave Bouska of Butcher Barbecue, and he's got something new to announce. We will leave it at that. That's what we call a tease in the biz. Follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram and Twitter, /BBQ Central Show on Facebook. Do it now if you haven't. Also on Facebook, you get the live feed if you don't like YouTube. YouTube does have a chat, which I monitor somewhat. So if you want me to have a chance at seeing what you're writing, go ahead and jump over to YouTube. If not, I'll monitor the chat roll on Facebook after the fact and reply as necessary. So it's not that I'm picking one over the other. One's just a little easier for me to follow. There you go. Follow me socially. Of course, lots of great reaction coming into the embedded correspondence segments from last week, especially going over the 2019 BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame class. And the overwhelming majority of you agreed with this year's class, by the way. Few of you thought we made a mistake here or there, but not enough for me to decide that I'm going to single you out in any form or fashion here in this open forum. Now, if you missed it, we changed it up a bit this year, and going forward, we'll be picking a total of 5 people to go in from here on out. You need to have been a guest on this show in order to qualify as a potential inductee for the future classes of the BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame. But that's it. You just have to be a guest. Now, myself, Stover from Portland, and the embedded correspondents, that's Doug and Steve and John and David. 5. So is that 5? Doug, Steve, John, and David. 4. Stover, 5. Me, 6. So we pick 5 folks whom we think are worthy individually, and then everybody sends them to me, and then I quickly tabulate the results. And if we have a top 5 of vote getters, all unique names, then those are the folks who would be making up that class of the BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame that year. If we aren't able to come up with 5, which happened this year, we came up with 4, but we needed a 5th one, we will all then nominate one person extra or pick one out of our 5 and put them in as the one to argue for, and we will argue for them amongst the panel. We will then go around for a final vote after those arguments are finished, and if at that point we are still unable to pick the final inductee, I will make the final decision on who gets in that year and next year and the year after that. And by the way, if I think that the 5th person is an absolute travesty and for whatever reason I think shouldn't get in, guess what? They're not going to get in. I will unilaterally, because it is a dictatorship in the end, maybe more of a, what do you call it when the king and queen rule? That's a dictatorship, I guess. Inevitably, it will be a dictatorship. And if I don't like the fifth one, I will put in who I want. Now, of course, I will try and be fair here and there, but what can I tell you? That's how it will go from here on out. Making up the 2019 class, if you missed it last week, Robin Lindars from the Grill Girl, Malcom Reed, who we will talk to here in a minute, Angel Todd, Darren Worth, and Derek Riches. The Subway brisket evaluation gets pushed to this month coming up for the Embedded Correspondent segment. We will also compare the Subway brisket sandwich to the Arby's Smokehouse brisket sandwich. So stay tuned for that. Malcom Reed coming up. Let me talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies. Will get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at BigPapaSmokers.com has been approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. They have 13 perfectly balanced flavors of rubs and seasonings like Sweet Money or Regular Money or Cattle Prod or Cash Cow or Little Louie's Seasoned Salt. The list goes on. If you want that West Coast offense diggity deal, you can pop over to BigPapaSmokers.com and also pick up some Simply Marvelous barbecue rub. Putting those two together makes that West Coast offense, whatever that means to you. They also own Granny's barbecue sauce, so if you're looking for a new go-to sauce as an alternative to what you're using currently, or maybe that has stalled your palate for whatever reason, give Granny's a try. I think you're going to like it. And they got great cookers as well. Charcoal, wood, pellet. If you're looking for a great, easy-to-use pellet cooker, the Mac 2-Star General Pellet Grill is the one you're going to want to take a look at. Big Papa's the exclusive Mac dealer online, and they even offer special packages. If you're not a fan of pellet cookers, take a look at that Old Hickory Ace BP. It's the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. Also, a number of other cookers. If you have an ugly drum that you know you could make into an ugly drum cooker, but you don't know how to go from drum to cooker, Big Papa Smokers sells a UDS conversion kit. He will help you finish the job. If you have any questions, you call him at 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or you shop the website, BigPapaSmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA Smokers.com. All right, we are back with Malcom Reed right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And this portion of the show being brought to you by Butcher's Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils, and stuff to be announced later in the show, if you can believe it. Oh, my. All of Butcher Barbecue products tested on the competition circuit as well as in backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood. Visit butcherbbq.com to stock up now. Always trust your butcher. All right, joining me now is the creator of How to Barbecue Right, or How to BBQ Right. You can pretty much Google How to BBQ Right in anything. You get all the social media and the websites and podcasts and all that good stuff. And we roll to the hotline and welcome back monthly guest, Malcom Reed. Hey, Malcom.
Hey, man, it's been a month already.
And it's been a month already. We are into the last business quarter of 2019. Let me tell you something. Every year as we cross the threshold from old year to new year in the first show, I always go, whatever the year, for instance, this year it was, and 2019 is rapidly coming to a close, and I get the email, 2019 rapidly coming to a close. It just started. Well, guess what? 2019 rapidly coming to a close. I don't know if it snuck up on you or not, but here we are in the last quarter. So how have the first three quarters been for How to BBQ Right and Killer Hogs?
Man, they've flown by.
Yeah.
It seems like we were just getting started back, late January, early February, and here we are thinking about the holidays. So
yeah, no doubt about it. Malcom Reed joining me here on the show. So before we get into some talk about some recipes and some other items, specifically, we were going to hit up a little bit on barbecue trailer purchasing and hunting, if you will. There was a major news announcement last week. I don't know if you heard about it, but you, along with 4 other people, inducted into the BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame. If you can believe, can you believe that?
I am on.
So
First I've ever been inducted into anything. So I'm ecstatic.
Let alone a Hall of Fame, right? I mean, you throw the words Hall of Fame behind anything, and perhaps it could be very, very important. Unfortunately, this time it's associated with the BBQ Central Show, so I mean, perhaps it's not as great as the Barbecue Hall of Fame, but hey, it's a Hall of Fame.
It means as much to me, man.
All right, well, I certainly appreciate
the honor, Greg.
No doubt about it. So, did you prepare any words or speeches for the Centralite that I can give you a couple of minutes if you'd care to?
Well, hey, I just want to say thanks, and I appreciate everybody, watching the videos and everything we put out. And I didn't plan on doing this, but thanks, Greg, and I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Malcom has certainly been a sweeping contributor here to this show over the past 10 months. And through the history of the show, I mean, I remember when you put out the newsletter way back in the day, and, that was kind of cutting edge back when it was happening. I mean, you think of it now, and it seems a bit archaic, but the newsletter was really kind of a thing back then, and they were always timely, and they were really good things that maybe I had been thinking about at some point, but never thought about bringing it up on the show. And you'd come in from time to time, and over the years we've kind of trended together. We were able to get together at the NBBQA a couple years ago out there in Fort Worth, do a little symposium about being big shots on the internet to all the other underlings that were over there, and it's been a great mutually beneficial relationship, even though it's been mostly through the internet. I guess that's like a lot of things are anymore these days. So I certainly appreciate the relationship that we've been building over the years, but especially this year as you've been coming on every month. I mean, I know you're certainly busy with all the videos and being a regular person too. So spending some time with me each month has been absolutely great. And you can thank your wife, Rochelle, too, because I know she plays a big part in it.
She does. And man, I appreciate the chance to always come on here because I've been a big fan of your show for a long time. And I think that we're both, just trying to spread the word of barbecue, get more people involved with it. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's real communal. So the more people that we can bring into it and then turn on to barbecue, man, the better it is.
No doubt. Better for both of us, indeed, also. So let me ask you a quick question. You typically, when you're competing, go under Killer Hogs. But last week might have been one of the more creative team names I have ever seen. So I have to ask you, Post Oak Malone was the team name, which is absolutely fat. I love Post Oak Malone, and it was like a branch, and the branch had tattoos on the face. I mean, it was a great play on both. Is that something that you had in the reserves just waiting to bust out, or what?
We came up with that just, probably 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Enough time to hurry up and order a few T-shirts so we could have to put on. I actually have a few left over. I'll send you one, man.
Oh, yes.
Email me your address and I'll mail you one.
Yep.
Rochelle created that, and she worked with the guy that does a lot of the barbecue logos. He did a fantastic job. Don't make me call his names. I don't know, but he does. He's done a lot of people's logos online.
Yeah.
And,
oh man, I know that guy's name too. And Patrick Carlson.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
That's right.
And it turned out. I mean, we were just doing it as a gag. A bunch of buddies that this was our hometown contest. We didn't take it real seriously, and we just thought that was funny. We've been cooking on stick burners here, playing around and burning post oak, so it just went with it.
How big of a fan are you of backyard competitions versus the traditional, I don't know if you call them pro competitions, but NBN, KCBS, something along these lines?
I'm a fan, but that's what got me started. We started doing backyards, so I've always, had a special place for them. I think it's a great learning, atmosphere for people that are just wanting to dabble in competitive barbecue without, jumping in with all the big heavy hitters. It's a great place to, work on your chops. The thing about them, the judging's not always, you don't have necessarily certified judges. You got to think when you do a backyard, you're going up and it might be some, local celebrities there or people that have donated money to the contest they're running, things like that. So, you can get a different shake in the judging process, but they're a lot of fun, man. It's a totally different atmosphere when you do a backyard contest. I mean, usually it's a party type thing and everybody's not just so serious and willing to help anybody out. And, we really love it.
Is it typically a one meat competition, or will you have multiple turn-ins like you would find at a sanctioned event?
Most of the time, you see ribs or maybe pork butts at these. The ones that I see, they'll throw in some ancillaries for something to do on Friday, and usually they may have something special like a cornhole tournament or something along those lines. So it's not your typical big four meats or even throwing hog or whole shoulders in there. You don't see that very often. It's usually rib based.
Are you seeing more growth in that? Is that becoming more of a popular scene, or is it stayed the same, at least in your opinion, over the last handful of years?
They've pretty much stayed the same. NBN probably had the biggest version of a backyard contest, and they kind of phased theirs out and changed their whole organization to bring the backyard guys in. And that's what's really kept them up in the forefront of doing contests, because it's, a lot of those, you might have 30 backyard guys that just don't want to go pro. And so they kind of changed their rules and brought it into where it's just a blind box and took out some of the on-site, unless it's just finals. And that brought the backyard guys together. So, I see that part of it growing. But, just your typical small town, they're always going to be about, 20 to 30 teams. It's a big one.
Yep, Malcom Reed joining me here on the show. HowToBBQRight.com is the website. A couple of the most recent recipes that I saw on the website were, one isn't like a crazy recipe, but it seems to be one that everybody kind of gets interested, especially when the word competition sits in front of it. And that was the competition chicken thighs. And I believe you had the pitmaster of, was it Fire Dancer Barbecue, help you out with this?
That's right, Mr. Eric Lee. He's usually I'm chasing him in KCBS contests around this area. He's got a really good chicken recipe, and he's been cooking on his Jambo for a long time, ever since I've known him. And I wanted to learn how, when I bring in those people like that, usually it's so I can learn something. That's the whole premise of it. And I wanted him to show me how he does competition chicken. Now, he swears that's, this is how he does it. And I'm sure he has some secrets he held back, but I did learn some stuff on it, man. It was, it was interesting to get to be there firsthand and watch him do his thing.
So as someone who has competed in events where you have to turn in chicken, what were like some of the 2 or 3 biggest things that stuck out as like, oh, wow, I never thought about doing that, or I can't believe you do it that way? What was some of your watershed moments?
Well, him being a one-man team, it was amazing to see how simple he kept it.
Yeah.
Because when we think of doing chicken, man, it takes, a lot of times we'll spend 1.5 hours to 2 hours sorting chicken, trimming it, weighing it, scraping all the fat, getting all, just trying to make it perfect. And his whole thing was about, man, it's just me, so I've got to make it easy on me. So he kept that real simple. And then the seasoning process was nothing to it. He did inject it. But I did like the way he put his racks that he was going to use already on the grill, so they were warm, so you're not shocking your chicken from coming over, out of the butter to a cold rack. He already had it warmed up and ready, and he just made it look easy. I mean, that was what, a lot of people struggle with chicken and comps, and he made it really simple, and I think he can go out and win with it.
Well, obviously he is a very good chicken cook, so he is winning with it. I mean, do you think that it's just part and parcel of people trying to overcomplicate something that maybe should remain a bit more simple?
I think that's a big part of it. And a lot of, his first part of cooking, he said chicken is the one time of the day where he don't touch, he walks away from the grill. This is where he goes and socializes. He knows he's got that 45-minute time limit built in that he can go, just don't do nothing. It's going to cook the same. And then when he comes back and actually puts the butter on it and lets it finish up, he don't touch it again. So that just keeping it simple like that and not messing with it is, I think that's probably what's really helping guys that are being real successful. Is they've got this system down and they know what the result's going to be and they just stick to it and don't miss a lick.
One of the things that I found incredibly fascinating as I was listening, and I listened to this particular show, I think it was released like 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. So I'm up doing my morning run and I'm listening to the How to BBQ Right podcast to keep me going through that 5K that I do. And you had asked him something about like, do you tempt the chicken, blah, blah, blah. And he proceeds to say, no, I'm running it like it was 275 or whatever it was on the Jambo. And he's like, and he kept it, was it foiled for like an hour? I mean, it seemed like it was forever and a day that this stuff was in the foil. And he said, hey, if I really took it out and stuck a probe in it, it would probably read like 205 or 206. And I was like, holy shit, that's like brisket temperature.
He's cooking it a lot further than we normally do. And that was what, my chicken time's usually about an hour and 10 minutes. That's all it's on the grill at the same temps. And sometimes I'll even let it run 300. But he left his on uncovered the first time, which we don't leave it uncovered as long as he does. And then when he covered it, man, it was, like you said, it was another hour. And that was, to me, I would have thought it would have been nuked. Yep. And I think what happened there was he didn't put as much butter as a lot of guys are using. He just put a pat on top of each piece. And a lot of times, chicken recipes I do, we put a whole squeeze bottle or 2 sticks all the way around it. So we've got it floating in butter. And, I don't know if that was part of what slowed it down, but his time at that temp was a little bit longer. And he told me he doesn't even own a thermometer. He never uses any category. It's all just repetitive of what he's got down.
Testament.
To me, that's gambling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think on like some stuff, like on chicken, if you're running at that temperature and you've cooked it for 2 hours, I mean, there's no need to wonder if it's done or not. I mean, and it's probably going to blow up if it's overcooked. So if you open up the foil and you see it's still the way you like it, you're probably good and you're safe. The other stuff, I agree. I think you want to take a temp just in case, or you want the feel. But, man, I guess if you're a one-man show and you've been doing it the same way for however long he's been doing it, I mean, you probably can kind of tell by a little squeeze and a little eyesight where you're at and if you're hitting your marks.
That's what I, think it is too. I'm sure when he first started, he was, tipping just like all of us. And I've even got to the point, there's a lot of things, like I don't really temp ribs. And, I do watch, my pork and my brisket, but we don't tip chicken either. We know. And I think the phosphate injection is really what lets them take that chicken up so high over 200 because it's still juicy. It's still holding all that moisture. If you just took a regular piece of chicken and try to do that, it'd be dry. But would you inject all that stuff in it, man, it makes it soak it up.
Yeah, check out that video, by the way. It is on Malcolm's YouTube page, How to BBQ Right, and see what's happening out there with Eric Lee and that chicken recipe or the competition chicken recipe. The other thing that I wanted to hit with you tonight is the barbecue trailer. And you had Heath Riles on this past week, or so it's the latest release into the How to BBQ Right feed. And he pulled off an incredible competition, the week before out in Murfreesboro, and he was the grand champion on both the NBA and the KCBS sides. I mean, Heath Riles is an incredible pitmaster, and anybody that knows competition knows how accomplished this guy is. But I found the trailer conversation to be quite fascinating. I mean, I've always thought about getting a trailer, but it's always just been a thought. But because I don't compete, but when you guys are actually doing it, trailers have become part and parcel of a sign of success or a sign of wanting to keep barbecue stuff in one place, as you had kind of mentioned during the show. So how are you looking for a barbecue trailer? And we'll kind of start there, and maybe we can start to piece together some questions and, common thoughts.
Well, the reason I'm looking for one kind is because we've done War Ours out pretty much, or us. So, but what I'm looking for when I get one, me and Waylon are usually the only ones staying in our trailer when we're out cooking a comp. We want to be comfortable, but we also want it to be functional, man. We've got to have it to where it's almost like a small kitchen in there. We've got to have our hot, running water, place to clean all our dishes. We've got to have enough counter space to work the briskets and butts, and we need some storage to keep everything out of the way. And that's, those are the main things that I'm looking for. But I'm also I'm ready to step up to one that's got onboard facilities. A lot of these trailers, when I first got my barbecue trailer, nobody thought about putting a toilet or a shower in them. And now, you see them all the time. Guys are stepping up. I mean, the first one I bought was like $13,000. It wasn't, that was a lot of money for me back in the day.
Sure.
It's probably been 7-8 years ago to buy a barbecue trailer, but now we're looking at them, man, they're costing 30 grand or more.
Well, yeah.
And people are putting all kinds of stuff in them, double AC units, onboard generators, the bathrooms, TVs, light show. You can get as fancy as you want on these things. It's incredible what they're doing.
From a size standpoint, how are you gauging what you need? Is it one of those things where you kind of map out on paper, I need this much of a porch to put a cooker on, and do I want to leave it open or do I want to enclose it, and how much workspace do we need? And then when you come up with that number, you say, okay, now we're going to also tack on, 4 feet either side just in case, buy a little bit bigger in the end.
That's, I start with the porch area, how much room we need to cook. And typically for our setup, we need at least about 8 foot back there on the back end. That's for our cookers, maybe a little prep table. I'm not going to get an onboard generator. I'm going to roll my Honda generator up on it, and I'm going to take a drum with me. So I need some space back there. And then we go to kind of where the kitchen prep area is, how much space we need there. Plus we know we're going to put 2 beds in it. And so you kind of know right away we're at, about 22 foot right there. And then when you go and put the bathroom, you need another 6-7 foot. So that's pushing me up in that 28-foot range. If I want to, that's my hang up. Do I want to spend that extra money and get the bathroom, or do I want to stay in the same size and be able to pull down the road easier, to back into spots easier? When you got almost 30-foot trailer going down the road, that's a pretty daggone big rig.
Well, it's a big rig, and then you probably have, a 15-foot truck or so that's got to pull that rig, so you're, plus 40 feet rolling down the highway combined. Do you have to have, like a Class B license or any special license for that, or no?
I don't think you do. It's still kind of in that, I guess they classify it as more of a camper type trailer, so you really don't have to have a certain classification that I know of. I know some states, if you're all logoed up and you're running it like a business, you need to have a CDL going down the road. But I know, and there's states that really get on you, and there's some that they're lax on it. You never hear anybody getting stopped. But that's one thing, we've never logoed up our trailers, because as far as anybody concerned going down the road, I'm going camping. I'm just happy to be cooking.
Right. Camping only in the fact that you're going in between cooks and you're sleeping in between, no doubt. So from a price standpoint, are you really looking at an entry of 30,000 and up, and do you have to have the internal struggle of, it's almost like buying it's nothing like buying a cooker, but it's also like buying your first real cooker. You've spent maybe a couple $100 on a smoker, and then you realize, okay, I want to step it up, and you start looking into a close pit or a gator like offset, or you start looking at the Fast Eddie pellet cookers. or the Jambos, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, holy shit, am I going to spend 10 grand on a cooker when I was looking at one for like $200? And you know where the quality is, but you're having the internal financial struggle or argument with yourself too. Do you run into the same situation?
That's what's been my holdup all year. We joked about on the podcast. Shell said I had the green light, but it's one thing to turn around and know that I'm going to drop 30 grand on a trailer, man. That's a lot of money. Yeah. And it's still just a barbecue trailer at that point. If I was going to spend that kind of money, I'm almost torn to try to find a really good RV in that, a little bit, it might be a little bit more expensive, but I could do more family stuff with it. And a lot of guys go that route. So I haven't been like in a hurry to pull the trigger on one, because my trailer is still functional and it still gets the job done. But, it's coming. It's hard to drop that dime, man. That's a big chunk of change, Greg.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm nervous talking about it with you, and it's your money. So, that definitely is a big chunk. So, we will continue to track trailer progress 2019. Perhaps it bleeds into 2020, and we'll see how it goes. In the meantime, we will find Malcom Reed back here the first Tuesday of every month, and you can find him at bbqright.com, and also the same handle for his social media. Malcom, always appreciate the time, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thanks for all you do, Greg. Man, have a good one. We'll see you at turkey time next month.
Here we go. Get ready for those turkey recipes, Malcom. You know, they're going to be on his website, and they'll probably be talking turkey on the podcast as well. So look for Malcom Reed coming up to talk turkey here on this show. Angel Todd coming up out of the break and talking a little competitive steak. Barbecue Guru has always believed that barbecue can be easy and fun, especially with the Monolith Barbecue Guru Edition grill. That's right. If you are a huge fan of ceramic-style cookers, but you want something that has a lot of accessories, that's a little bit more price palatable, and has a built-in power draft fan already, Monolith is the one you want to take a look at. It's the world's first temperature-controlled smoker with a built-in power draft fan. Also, if you have a Guru controller, you take the controller, you put it in the built-in power draft fan, and you're off and running. As I had mentioned before, it comes with a whole bunch of accessories. If you want to double the cooking capacity on ribs, get the rib ring that Barbecue Guru came out with a little while ago. Great accessories over there. If you have any questions, you call them at 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. Or visit the website bbqguru.com. That's bbqguru.com. The Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. All right, Angel Todd coming up out of the break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And this portion of the show is being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com to purchase, or visit amazon.com. You can purchase there as well if you want. And why wouldn't you? Sometimes better shipping at cookinpellets.com. Also, you can search for a dealer on cookinpellets.com. Keep an eye out for that new app to be released as well. It's free. Hey, earlier this year, my next guest made her debut on the show with her win at the very first SCA event in Ohio, Hartville Hardware to be exact. And she came on to talk about the win. One of the unique items here is that she is just 17 years old, and her interview was great. So much so that the voting members of the BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame committee put her in the class of 2019. So how about that? Has this new accolade changed the life of this Pittsburgh resident forever? Probably. Let's go to the hotline and find out. Joining me now, the 2019 BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame inductee, Angel Todd. Angel, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm absolutely fabulous. Appreciate you making time for the show this evening. So, Angel, let's go ahead through the past 7 days of learning of this great new accolade, being inducted into the Guest Hall of Fame. Has it been, let's say, a whirlwind? Have the phones been ringing off the hook? TV appearance requests of radio interviews, added security at school, perhaps? I mean, what has life been like now?
Not that crazy, although I wish, but I just wanted to say I'm very thankful for everything and very humble. The opportunities I've had have been incredible, especially for a girl my age. It's just crazy.
Are you still 17, or have you crossed over into to 18 yet?
No, I'm still 17.
Right.
My birthday's not until May.
Oh, hey, my oldest daughter's in May too. There you go. Is it May 8th?
28th.
Oh, all right, 28th, 20 days off. No problem. That's close enough. All right, so not huge life changes, but maybe small life changes for the better. Have you mentioned in the past 7 days to somebody like, oh, by the way, I'm a Hall of Famer, and you're not?
My friends know, but I don't think they completely understand it.
Yeah, what are their questions? Like, a Hall of Fame of what?
Yeah, and honestly, I'm like, you wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
Just know that I am.
Yeah, I am, and you're not. Beat it, loser. Non-Hall of Famer. Friends at school. All right. So all kidding aside, Did you have any idea that there was such thing as a BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame prior to me sending you the email last week?
Honestly, no.
Yeah, that's right. Because this is only technically the second class, but last year was the inaugural year, and we did this huge induction. So I basically did it the complete opposite way that the BBQ Hall of Fame in Kansas City did it when they took over. And I said, we're just going to put in a whole bunch of people up front, and then every year going forward, we'll be way more discerning, and we'll have this whole big process. And I thought it was, pretty telling. So as you had mentioned, 17 years old, still in high school, not the typical guest that I would have on the show, right? So for my Oklahoma and Tennessee and Michigan and Texas guy, and then that kook over in Portland, who had all had your name up on whether it be an original list or their refined list, there was only one other person that got more votes than you, and that was Darren Worth from Iowa Smoky D's, who happens to be like the winningest man in barbecue history ever on the face of the earth. So to be like second to him is almost like being first anyway. So I think that's pretty telling in how your first appearance was and how you came off. And man, it's a pretty impressive. I thought it was a pretty impressive get for somebody that had been on the show just earlier in the year, considering the length the show has been in existence.
For sure. I was so nervous that day. So it was like, that's like what's so crazy to me. I like hate talking to people like in public. So, like right now I'm just pretending that like no one's watching. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. Angel Todd joining me here on the show. So last time you were on, we were recapping your win over at the first Steak Cook-Off Association event in Ohio, which happened to be at the Hartville Hardware Store. So have you been doing more SCA events since then in an effort to like gain more game time exposure or game time experience before the big world championships?
Yes, I have competed twice since then. Once was at the end of August, which was actually my dad and I's event. We hosted it at my stepmom's Ace Hardware, and I placed 5th there out of, I think there was 35 people.
Wow.
So that was crazy because there were a lot of big names there. And then in Georgia, I placed 3rd. It was like they did a competition between the Ace Hardware retailers and vendors. Oh. So I competed in both of those, and I got 3rd there too.
Wow. So, I mean, the worst finish in 3 SCA events and these are, you're cooking on your own, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're 1st on your own, 3rd on your own, 5th on your own. I mean, to me, that's every SCA event you've done, you've been in the top 5 or better. So, I mean, that's a pretty good point.
Right.
Yeah. So things are going well, and it's not just kind of a flash in the pan. You have a program that you're running, and it's obviously successful. So gearing up for the SCA World Championships, which is this coming weekend, October 4th, what's the agenda you are going to run down there, and does it change at all from what you had been doing these past, 3 or 4 events leading up to this weekend?
I actually wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was like, I have to change it because I don't know like what the judges down there want, but all of them, there's judges that come from all over the world. So I'm just going to stick with what I know and what's been winning. So
has that been a consultation that you've had with your dad and some other fellow steak cooks where, your mindset was like, hey, maybe I want to change it up a bit because you said, hey, I don't know what the palate is going to be expecting down there. And they're like, whoa, dance with the one that brought you, or whatever old guys say. And say, well, if it's been successful here, why would you change it regardless?
Right. Yeah, that was definitely a conversation that was said between my dad and I and a lot of the guys. I was like, do I need more spice? Do I need more sweet? Do I need this? Do I need that? But we're just going to roll with what I use. So
you've done 2 other events prior to the Ohio event. You have the big one coming up, but in between there's a lot of time at home. Are you doing an insane amount of home practice or not so much?
No, because my stuff has actually been with a guy who lives up in Butler. It's about an hour or so away from us, and he's graciously driving down and he's taking all of my stuff. So I don't even have any of my stuff to practice with. I'm like, I have it down. So
Dad doesn't have an extra grill laying around, and
right?
or is he like, it's my grill and not your grill?
we did practice with my stepmom's Big Green Egg, and I hated it. It got like so hot way too fast, and I did not like it. I'm just gonna stick with my Weber.
So you use a Weber kettle grill?
Yes.
Is it a Summit charcoal or just the normal like one touch kettle?
Yeah, it's just
normal kettle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say don't be messing around on a Big Green Egg if you're not going to be cooking on it. I mean, you don't want to get any bad
It was
habits.
just to get one practice,
Yeah.
but it was bad.
Yeah, bad practice, right? That sucks. So,
yeah.
Do you get or do you think you get an upper hand to some degree because your dad Keith is an SCA judge and rep, as you had mentioned? You are too, by the way. So he can give you an expert evaluation of any practicing that you would be doing versus having like one of your friends come down and be like, "Oh yeah, Angel, this is like the best steak I've ever had," and you're like, "No, I need to know like the real feedback." He has the ability to give you that because of being a rep, being a judge.
It's definitely nice knowing he has a lot more information than the average person off the street would, but I wouldn't say I have an advantage, especially because I beat him multiple times before. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys ever have competing steak cook-offs at home?
Well, we do. It's not really a competition. We just try for flavor and have my stepmom judge them, and normally she likes mine more.
Wow, I mean, you do a lot of winning. World Championships coming up this weekend, Fort Worth, Texas. Have you ever been to Fort Worth before?
No, I'm very excited.
Have you ever been to Texas before?
No.
No? Was the farthest you've ever been that Georgia contest you were talking about?
I've been to Orlando, so no.
Oh, yeah. Okay, like for Disney World or whatever?
It was for the Ace show.
Oh, you went for the A show? Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Great. Were you just like checking it out or were you working it?
My stepmom owns an Ace store, so we were with her.
Nice. Yeah. All right. So do you like, you have the secret line in to like, "Hey, Mom, get some of this product or some of that product in for the shelves," and, meanwhile, it's like Angel shelf?
I try, but they did start carrying one of the rubs that I do use, so that was nice.
So you're using the Weber grill. Fuel-wise, I forget what we were talking about earlier in the summer. Are you a lump or a briquette gal?
I have used both and obviously succeeded with both, so I don't really have a preference.
Are you going to be using lump or briquette down at the World Championships?
Honestly, I don't know. It's whatever my dad got. I want to say it's lump. Maybe it's briquette. Honestly, I'm not sure.
Really?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Goodness. All right. Well, flavor profile wise, what are you using?
Commercial grade barbecue rub.
Yes, look at you. Well played. So anybody can get it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I do use two, and one I put more on than the other, and it's readily available for anyone.
All right. Is it? Would you say that this is like a combo that's used on the SCA circuit, or you just see it around, whether it be through SCA or competition barbecue?
I've honestly never seen anyone use the one that I use, and my dad tells me that all the time. He's like, "I don't know how you do so good with this, because I would never put that on a steak." So it's crazy. The one I do use is known. It's Boar's Night Out White Lightning.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty well-known one. I don't know, why would your dad say that when you routinely pound him into the ground? I can't believe he would. I would never say that if somebody's beating me.
I know.
Yikes. So are you concerned at all, Angel, when you get down there and you set up, that there's going to be any kind of nerves or the big stage type of feeling that might get you to any degree?
The nerves are already setting in. We fly out tomorrow, so I'm like shaking.
Wow. How do you anticipate working through that, I guess?
Consistency, just doing what I always do and what I know has gotten me to where I am.
I mean, nerve-wracking wise, is that more nerve-wracking, or coming on to talk about the 2019 BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame induction more nerve-wracking? Be honest.
The championship is definitely more nerve-wracking.
What? I've never been so unbelievable. All right, so it's going to be... Have you allowed yourself at all? And I know we're not looking ahead, and it's always the contest, blah, 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 whatever. If at the end of Saturday, is it Saturday that the competition actually takes place?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. At the end of Saturday, you get down to this last ticket, and I think they call numbers, and then, you're going to be, and if it was your number, do you have any idea, like, how you would react? Would you just be, like, crowd surfing up to grab the trophy and the check, or would you just be, like, in shock? Like, what's your typically, like, your emotional state on really big things when they happen?
I think I would just be in shock. Like when I did win my ticket, I didn't even do anything. I just like stood up and I turned and looked at my dad and I had nothing to say. And then when I got that 5th place at our contest, I was actually happy there because my dad called my ticket. So it was cute.
All right. Well, I'm very excited for you, and we're going to see what happens. Now, promises. If you happen to... When you rip the SCA World Grand Championship down in Fort Worth, I am going to be off a week from tonight, but the 15th, you will come back on and we'll break down how you're a world champion.
Absolutely.
All right, so I will write that down right now. Before I let you go, you're a Pittsburgh-based best steakhouse in Pittsburgh. If anybody's going to go visit and they want a steak, what do you think?
Honestly, I used to hate steak, so I literally have no idea. Like, I would order my steak well done. I'm like, if you make a steak, Dad, like, it has to be well. So this has, like, completely changed my life. I couldn't even tell you one steakhouse in Pittsburgh.
What's the best restaurant in Pittsburgh? Your opinion.
Ooh, that's hard.
Yeah.
Probably Permani's, even though I don't go there very often, but it is good.
All right, so if anybody's listening and visiting Pittsburgh, Permantes, is that what you said?
Yeah, Permani Brothers.
Permani, all right. Permani Brothers is the place to go. She will be taking her swipe at winning the World Championship over at the Steak Cook-Off Association's big event down in Fort Worth, Texas this coming weekend. It's Angel Todd, and she is a BBQ Central Show guest Hall of Famer 2019 class. Angel, thanks so much, and we wish you nothing but luck. You got it. There she goes.
Thank you very much.
Go bring back that crown, Angel. Outrageous. I can't believe Keith is like, hey, man, are you kidding me with that rub? You can't be using that, right? I mean, Dad, take a hike. Get that big stuff out of here. Who's winning golden tickets, Dad? Me. Angel's winning golden tickets. I would give you a bottle of this rub because it's obviously the secret. But because you're pounding me, I'm going to keep this in my back pocket. And then I'll take 5th, and then I'll take 3rd, and now we're rolling to the World Championships in Fort Worth, Texas. By the way, all the other great steak cookers are going to be around Fort Worth this coming weekend, so if you're going to be out there, not sure like how much of a spectator event it is, but Fort Worth is a great town. Had a good time there when I was covering MBBQA. So we'll see how it goes. That was Angel Todd. And we will be right back to close out the first hour. Stick around, be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the BBQ Central Show.
All right, welcome back. Thanks again to Angel Todd for joining me last segment. Talking about the upcoming Steak Cook-Off Association's World Championships taking place in Fort Worth, Texas this coming weekend. And we wish her well and see if she comes out on top. See if show karma attaches, because as we know, it never doesn't not work. Never does. Always works. Backyard Barbecue Show saying the secret seasoning is popcorn seasoning. Maybe. Like butter flavor popcorn seasoning, Kinger, or nacho popcorn seasoning. Because my youngest uses that nacho popcorn. Ugh. So gross. When I pop popcorn, you know, maybe a little butter flavoring. I'm not like extra triple movie butter popcorn guy. You know it's not real butter in movie popcorn, right? It's plastic, heated plastic that has butter flavoring in it, and they dump it all over the kernels. And it doesn't even really get down the way it should. I mean, there's a whole thing. I worked in the concession stand in a couple of different movie theater houses as I was coming up in the mean streets of Bainbridge, Ohio. It's not anything that I would want to be eating, that butter. No way. It's not butter. Anything that comes in a jug that says butter oil, not good. You don't want to eat that. The thing that sticks out in my mind mostly is when you had the rather large man or lady, fella or lady, come in and get the extra large bucket of popcorn and then make you stop 3 different times to layer the butter in, so as they ate down, they could always have buttered kernels. So meanwhile, they have, you know, an 8-pound bucket of popcorn, but I'll take the small diet soda. Yeah, diet. Of course. That clears the 8 pounds of popcorn right up. Diet soda. Small. Light ice, please. Light ice. Light ice. Yes, light it. Do you want no ice or light? Light ice, please. Light. Oh, that's too much. Okay. Also, I'm not sure when I will actually get to fit this into the show because this has to be a live segment when it happens. But somewhere over the next course of shows, like in the next month or so or whatever, we are going to have somebody everybody knows. All of you know him if you've been watching the show here over the last year. You all know him. He has a story of outright ridiculousness as it relates to his Traeger cooker. And let me tell you, when you hear this story regaled to you in its raw form, you will think it's made up. You're going to think it's a bit like Briskydorf, which, by the way, I can't believe that Briskydorf thing was exposed. It's outrageous. But when this person comes on and tells you this story, I guarantee you're going to think it's a bit. But I can confirm through the source itself and the source's father, who's really more the source, that the story you will hear and that will horrify you to no end is 100% true and 100% horrifying. Horrifying. Because I own a Traeger grill, not the same version as his does, but I have other cookers that are similar in setup and that have the similar attributes to what caused this horrifying story. And after he tells the story, I'm immediately going to email and instant chat reaction to hear and or look at, same thing happened to me. I'm glad somebody finally said it because I've been dying to let this cat out of the bag. I can't believe it was true. Yins Love Barbecue in the instant chat. Grill your steak off is a most excellent event. Her and Keith put on a really fun event, and it raises money for Children's Hospital. Guy, the Cooking Sam, is asking if Max is okay. I don't know who Max is. Oh, you mean Max Good? Max is good. Of course. That is not the person I'm talking about, by the way. But everybody knows. Anyway, I'm going to try and get that horrifying story in here over the next coming weeks. Because you need to suffer in silence now like I have to, till I can share it with the world. Second hour coming up. Stick around. Be right back.
This is Michigan embedded correspondent John Solberg, and you are listening to the BBQ Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to. Hit me.
Fine. How's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet or wiener.
Oh, listen, Liberty, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome aboard. You have found the BBQ Central Show. We talk about live fire barbecue and grilling stuff right here. We do it every Tuesday. We do it live Tuesday nights from 9 to 11. Simultaneously, it's being recorded and sent to different video platforms such as Facebook Live and YouTube Live and something like this. Ah, yes. Just looking at the chat guy, the cooking Sam, and I don't know. By the way, I did get some email saying, hey, the first Tuesday of the month, second segment regular guest is not in again this month. Is something going on between you and Sam, the cooking guy? And the answer is no. I don't know if you follow Sam, the cooking guy, on social media or not. And following social media for him and following his YouTube channel are not one and the same, because if you follow his YouTube channel, you would think that he is currently in California making up cooking videos, which I think his most recent one was meatloaf a couple different ways, which looked insane. Also, congratulations to Sam for either getting gifted or buying a brand new Traeger Ironwood 885, which is very cool looking. And he made meatloaf on the Traeger, and he almost did it right for the first time. As somebody who had never put meatloaf on the grill before, or on the Traeger before. Smoking meatloaf. If you've never tried a smoked meatloaf, gang, you are missing out on a pinnacle moment in your life. Meatloaf on its own is, to me, really good. Not necessarily life-changing, but a good meatloaf is really good, but it's always better the next day, right? The next day, it cools down, you cut it into pats, and you take 2 pieces of just white bread, and you put that cold meatloaf on one side, and you put a whole bunch of ketchup on the other side, you put the other piece of white bread on the top, and then you have a cold meatloaf sandwich. And oh my God, is it absolutely fantastic. Have you never had that? Talk about simplicity at its finest and deliciousness at its finest. I mean, come on. cold meatloaf sandwich drenched in ketchup. I mean, granted, it sounds like I'm 5 years old with ketchup, but I mean, it is just the best. Love it, love it, love it. As much as I love hot meatloaf right out the oven or off the cooker, the next day or two, depending on how much is left, I'm more geeked for the leftovers and that sandwich. Absolutely. However, getting back to, if you've never done smoked meatloaf, you're missing out. Don't ever put raw meatloaf on your cooking grate. It will lead to disaster. There's going to be some settling. Meat's going to start to come through. And now it might not drip all the way through, but when you go to put that spatula underneath, you're going to carve out a little bit, and you're going to be a little disenchanted, just like Sam did. And does ketchup go on hot meatloaf? For me, every day of the week, it does. You bet. Ketchup on hot meatloaf, ketchup on cold meatloaf. It's great. I like it. I like it myself. So here's what I suggest. Some people in the chat room are saying put down a foil. You can do that if you want to. I say parchment paper, then meatloaf on top of the parchment paper, then cut around the meatloaf, make that parchment paper as shapely as the loaf itself, then go to the grill grate, and the parchment paper will release it very easily. You can also slide it off if you want to, but you get a great smoke penetration all the way around it. And again, a smoked meatloaf is just unbelievably good, and it changes it in a multitude of ways from a flavor standpoint. The ground meat accepts smoke really well. If you do it right, you get a really good smoke ring on that meatloaf as well. Oh, it's just absolutely delicious. And back when I was visiting the virtual Weber Bullet message forum back like in 2004 or 2005, some guy by the name of Griff was the person that invented Griff Loaf. And that's how my love affair of smoked meatloaf came into play. And I will admit, I probably do more in the oven just because, for sake of ease, or if I'm going to be out, whatever the case may be. But I do love a great smoked meatloaf. Anyway, I digress. Sam, while you think he's out back making meatloaf, is not. I believe he's in the country of Jordan, which is, way west of here, east of here. You know Jordan, right? And if I'm not mistaken, the monarchy that runs Jordan might be a huge fan of the Sam the Cooking Guy show. I'm making my own speculations, and I'll have to confirm that, or at least next month when Sam's on, maybe he can say my speculatory skills are on point or they are not. But I do believe that there is some kind of a fandom between the royalty of Jordan and one Sam the Cooking Guy who appears here the first Tuesday of the month and the second guest segment. So we'll see how that goes. Don't forget, you can follow me socially on Instagram at BBQ Central Show. Instagram and Twitter / BBQ Central Show on Facebook. Coming up this week on the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less. Episode 92. We are quickly getting to 100 in about 8 weeks from now. This one takes you back to October 2011, if you can believe it. And one of the newest members of the BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame and third Tuesday of the month regular guest, Robin Lindars, is on in the first portion of this show. And we're talking about team names. I don't know if you recall that or not, but we talked about team names back then, 8 years ago. And in the second portion of this show, BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Famer and one of the most recognizable names in barbecue, period, Myron Mixon made an appearance on the show, and we talked quite a bit about book writing. And back in 2011, that was, I think, more the flow of when you thought you could write books and make a lot of really good money at it, and that could be your ticket of making money every year. You know, I write books. I'm an author. I make a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. But it's not necessarily the case anymore. You write books to keep your name out or to diversify the brand portfolio. But I think it's way more rare to get millions of dollars in advance because of how people are consuming things anymore. Same thing with music. Like, how do you even become a musical artist anymore? It seems so convoluted. Nobody's buying music anymore. Nobody's buying albums or tapes or CDs or anything like that. It's all streaming. I stream all the time. That's probably killed the album because you can go through the album and go, well, I only like these songs off of this, so I'm just going to play these 3 off of this album and this one off of this. And, it's not an experience anymore. That's what Tool was holding out for all these years, because they felt that their collection of music had to be consumed from start to finish, from one side of the album to the next. Not, I say one side tongue-in-cheek because there's no albums. Although I guess there are pieces of vinyl out there still. Some people rate that a 9 out of 9, by the way, having pieces of vinyl, listening to it that way. I don't subscribe to that at all. I subscribe to my music streaming service, and I can listen to whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want, make my own playlist. So if you don't subscribe to the BBQ Central Show and the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less, subscribe to the podcast. Go to bbqcentralshow.com/subscribe, and there are all of the ways to get that. All of the ways. Guy the Cooking Sam. Best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less in 20 minutes. That's right. You have 2. Each segment, 10 minutes or less. The best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less. Each one has 2 segments. 20 minutes or less. Derek Rich is coming up. We talked to you quickly about Southside Market and barbecue. Attention, anyone who loves sausage and barbecue. I guess that's all of us. Established in 1882, Southside Market is the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. They've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. Famous for the original beef sausage, coarse ground, and a natural pork casing. Also, they make the authentic Central Texas barbecue meats. The prime briskets are slow smoked for many hours over real Texas post oak wood. They ship nationwide via the online store, SouthsideMarket.com. And they ship fresh and smoked sausages nationwide. Shipping customers can choose to order now and ship later, include a custom gift note, and mail to multiple addresses without additional charges. All shipped items are vacuum sealed to ensure freshness and ease of preparation for the customer. All meats are processed in that on-site USDA inspected facility. On-site meat markets for fresh and smoked products. Custom orders are welcome as well to restaurants to eat in if you want. Elgin, Texas since 1882, and Bastrop, Texas since 2014. Grocery distribution through Texas and many surrounding states as well. If you are visiting SouthsideMarket.com, take this code down, BBQ Central, one word, lowercase, BBQ Central. Get 10% off your entire online order as you visit SouthsideMarket.com. Doesn't matter how much you're throwing in that cart, I will give you 10% off each and every time you use the code BBQ Central. Works the first time, works the 51st time, works the 101st time, every time you visit the website. Put in the sausages, put in the briskets, put in the barbecue products, put in an order for private labeled stuff. Get 10% off the order when you use code BBQ Central. All one word, lowercase, at SouthsideMarket.com. Thanks to Southside for their continued support of this show as we look forward to 2020 with them as well. And we will look forward to a conversation with Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com when we come back. Stick around.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue. A man actually named Meathead. The author of a barbecue Bible, bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, this portion of the show is being brought to you by Smithfield, and we are gearing up for the Smithfield National Barbecue Championship. That's happening next month in New Orleans, Louisiana. To check out the leaderboard, go to smokinwithsmithfield.com. That's SMOKIN, with smithfield.com. And as long as you are registered over Smithfield, smokewithsmithfield.com, you have the option. I believe the initial set of invitations did go out to those top, I think it was 24 or 25 teams. So be on the lookout if you are in qualification territory. And as I said, that national championship will be taking place in just over a month, maybe a little more than that. So we'll see how it goes. SmokeWithSmithfield.com. All right, my first guest in the second hour needs no real introduction, especially when it comes to the history of this show. When you need reviews on products in the barbecue and grilling world, this guy is one of the most trusted names in the industry. These days, you can get that info on his website, DerekRidges.com, and while he has a journalist, author, icon that can describe his career covering the live fire industry, he can add one more to that list, which is Hall of Famer. So we go to the hotline and welcome class member of 2019, Derek Riches. Derek, how are you, buddy?
Doing good, Greg. How you doing?
Absolutely fantastic, Derek. And before we get into the Weber pellet smoker discussion and all that stuff, let's spend a few minutes here talking about the Hall of Fame induction. First, did you have any idea that there was a show guest Hall of Fame?
No.
Really?
No.
Damn. I'm 2 for 2. I'm 2 for 2. The 17-year-old girl earlier in the hour had no idea that there was one either.
Well, you know, if my name's not on it, am I going to pay attention?
No, but, I mean, who knows, right? I mean, I hear you. It's the same thing for me. If I'm not getting in it this year, do I have any care of following it? No, of course I don't. So,
I didn't want to get my feelings hurt. You know?
So trust me, I understand that. So in the week that has passed, have you seen any major positive changes knowing that the Hall of Fame is now in the back pocket? You're you're almost exactly a week in now. So how has life changed for you?
It's a good question. Let's see here.
So many things to list out.
Yeah,
yes.
The phone has not stopped ringing. It's just, I'm finally someplace, you know, and somebody actually knows who I am.
Good. All right. By the way, it's Derek Riches from DerekRidges.com. So I don't know if, you went back and listened to the show from last week, but, you were actually a nominee so we came up with, just to give you a very, very, very quick background. Last year was the initial class, and we just threw like a whole bunch of people in. And then we said, for every year going forward, we'll do 5. So my embedded correspondence, guy in Portland that I use myself, we would all generate a list of 5 names. They would all send them to me, quickly go down and see which names got in common, and if they got enough votes, then summarily we were hopefully going to generate a number of 5. We would generate 5 people that out of all those names, and then that would make up the guest Hall of Fame that year. Easy enough. Now, if we didn't come up with 5 right off the rip, as we were kind of going through the process during the actual show segment, which is what happened last week, so we got to 4, we would then pick one name out of that whole regroup again and make the argument. And you were the name that I pulled out and made an impassioned speech about. And I actually swung my Michigan correspondent off of his name, and he said, you know what, you're right. Derek Riches is the guy that should be going in here amongst all the other names that we've been arguing. And so I argued to get you in. Now, truth be told, if we all would have still been at odds, I just would have put you in anyway because it's my goddamn show, and we know how I roll around here. But it was, I think it just goes to show that once your case is laid out, people realize that you are a force of nature when it comes to this whole barbecue and grilling industry.
Well, it's an honor to be nominated. To get in barely under the wire. That's the icing on the cake.
I don't see it as under the. I mean, you're either it's like being pregnant. I mean, you either are or you aren't. You're either a Hall of Famer or you're not. You don't just get in.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm having new T-shirts made.
Right. Great. So, all right. So very, semi quickly here, Derek, before we get into the business talk here. We get new listeners all the time. I don't want to ever be so self-absorbed that I think everybody goes back through and listens to the extensive archives here that we've generated over the life of the show. But I would say at least for maybe the first 5 and 6 years of this show, you were a regular guest, a valued guest, and the reason it has achieved the success and longevity over the past 12 years. So certainly thankful for that. But can you take us back and tell us, how you got into covering the barbecue and grilling scene? I mean, it's a pretty hot scene now, but it probably wasn't always as succulent and sexy as it is now, back when you had started covering it. So what was your spark to get in?
I lived in Central Texas for a little while back in the early 90s, and then, I kind of got a love for barbecue, and an opportunity came up to write about barbecue in 97, and I jumped at that and said, hey, it didn't really pay at the time, but why not? So it would be a lot of fun. And I spent a lot of time explaining what a barbecue rub was, what a smoker was, that brisket isn't a pot roast. But, people become a lot more sophisticated now. So, hopefully I played a small role in that.
Did you think that it was a gradual growth to knowledge of where we're at today, or would you say that there was some kind of slow roll, and then did you see a tremendous spike from, 1 year to the next and then ongoing at that point? Was there a major shift at some point or no?
Well, there was that gradual buildup. A lot of the online forums and stuff, they helped get the word of barbecue to a much larger audience. I mean, we have barbecue joints in Australia now. So, that global spread, is the work of a lot of people online really spreading the word. But, the last 5 years, we've seen so much of it mainstream. People, it's not like, what is barbecue? And, having to sit there and constantly say, yeah, okay, you're cooking hamburgers outside. That's not really barbecue, not in the sense of what we want it to mean. And now everybody knows what pellet grills are and, what Kamado grills are. And that's been it's a much more interesting time because it's a much more sophisticated audience.
I mean, there's probably thousands and thousands of articles and pieces that you've written since 97. I mean, that was the year I graduated from college. So, it's been a little while. Is there one or two or three particular pieces that stick out in your mind as hey, that's something I really uncovered and that made a difference, or that's something that seemed to really resonate with it? There's one specific that I'm going to mention here after I hear from you, but I was just wondering what the tops for you were.
Well, for a long time I wrote for a lot of other people, and so there was a lot of reins on what I could say. And now that I'm kind of free of all that, I feel like I'm actually now able to kind of come out and really be a little bit more brutal, or I think as you put it, bristly, about the way the business works and the way things are marketed. So I've been talking, I wrote a piece a couple months ago about the kind of the lack of innovation by Big Green Egg, and how Kamado Joe is really, become such an innovative force there that, is this actually going to force Big Green Egg to kind of change their ways and say, we're not just the most recognized name now. We need to actually be out there and innovate. We need to make some changes and make some improvements. So, pieces like that.
The piece that will always stick with me is, and I wish I would have bothered to go back through and track the year, but there was a definitive point, you probably might remember, where if you did the propane gas exchange, it's a 15-pound can, and you would take it to the local 5 and dime, they would trade you back out the 15, and away you go. Very convenient. But there was a point in time where all of a sudden, oh, okay, well, we'll still do the exchange, but what we're not going to tell you is, Was there a law, Derek, that had been passed or something like that where they weren't legally allowed to exchange it back out for a full 15 and they were giving you 12? Or what was the impetus there?
It was, their claim was that they were refilling at centralized locations, and because of differences in temperatures that the tanks might expand, and that might cause an explosion in their trucks, and that might be venting problems. It really was pure economics. They wanted to keep the price under control. I mean, all the propane exchange services, I still believe now, are still all run by Ferrogas. It's one company. They do a couple of different brand names in different places, but it was just a way to kind of, it's like when you open your cereal box and realize it's half full. That's kind of what they were going for. It's like, the same size container, but let's put less in it. We'll be able to increase our profit margin. They weren't making the money they'd estimated they were going to.
And, so that was like the big reveal of that evening was the exchange is 12 pounds in a 15-pound can. So instead of going to if you have to go to the exchange and that's the only option you have, you're kind of screwed, but just know you're getting 3 pounds less. But if you can go someplace that can actually hook a hose up, they'll weigh it out. They will give you the 15 pounds that can will hold. You'll get longer cook time, or you'll get more use out of it. And ultimately, your personal economics are going to be better. But that was like a huge reveal of the show. And I remember telling everybody from then on, go somewhere where they're going to fill it up, because you're only getting 12 pounds, even though it's a 15-pound can. And I just had this guy on my show, and we were talking all about it. And maybe it's common knowledge now, or I think it's even labeled 12 pounds on exchange instead of 15 or whatever it is. But like that will be the pinnacle Derek Rich's moments out of all the moments that seem to be like a real, like, journalistic, holy shit, nobody's wise to this and they're not telling anybody and nobody's picking up on it, and you brought it to light. So that was one of my favorite moments. So let's transition out and talk about pellet cookers. And we'll get into the Weber cooker here in just a minute that has started to make some rounds or images being flashed around here on the internet and so forth. But, let's back out for 1 minute. You did reference it here just a couple minutes ago. I remember when we were talking fairly regularly, and from time to time, there would be a new pellet cooker coming to market, but it wasn't nearly the number of pellet cookers available and the range from elite to kind of entry-level stuff that you have now. How have you seen this pellet cooker market unfold over the past 5 years? Is it something that surprises you with the amount of manufacturers or the amount of options, or is this kind of on par for how you saw the rise in popularity?
Well, I figured when the Traeger patent expired, and that's what really got everything going. Sure. Traeger had a patent on it for 20 years, and they had total lockdown on the market, and you just had to go to them. And as soon as the patent expired, I think 15 companies jumped out to start producing pellet grills. A lot of them were very small, and a lot of them were kind of already in the pellet business. They made pellet furnaces or pellet stoves, and it was a natural extension of their business. What we've seen now in the last couple of years, Traeger, the new Traeger, the very corporate Traeger, whose corporate headquarters is like 7 minutes from my house.
Salt Lake.
Yeah. They've done an amazing job of marketing. I mean, they personally own like 1,000 Instagram accounts. They're out there everywhere, and people know what pellet grills are.
Yep.
And that means that everybody has to have them. And now we're starting to see the situation of, the mainstream grill companies coming into it. Twin Eagles now has a $7,500 pellet grill. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Wow.
And Broil King came out with, Broil King mistakenly rushed their pellet grill to market, about 4 months ago. But they seem to get all the bugs worked out by now. I mean, the software simply wasn't there when they came out. And now, of course, the biggest name in the game is about to drop theirs. So now we're moving to this kind of sophistication point. I expect Napoleon and Charbroil will have to get in there sometime soon.
All right, so here, if you haven't seen it, by the way, this is a picture I was able to nab somewhere on the interwebs of the Weber pellet grill. Is this, would you concur that this is an image that you have seen from a Weber standpoint?
Yeah, that's the 22-inch version. So that's the $1,000 model. Images are not supposed to really be out yet.
Yeah.
Everyone I've spoken to who's seen it, it's like surrender your phones. You know, they're going through people's pockets. They don't want any information out there until they're ready to, to make the formal release. But, it's the internet.
Yeah.
You can't keep things secret.
Yeah.
So, that's what we're looking at.
So there's going to be a bigger version of this one too, then?
Yeah, it's the 24 and a 36. I believe, 24 and 36.
All right.
Inch units.
So when I look at, let me ask you this question instead. Look at this unit.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, the first thing that jumps out at you is it's Weber. It's shiny. It's got all the look and feel of Weber, but it's a little stumpy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So here's the thing.
It's simple.
Here's what I'm seeing. And maybe because I have something in my backyard, or maybe because this company I'm about to mention is already in a lawsuit with Danson's about, kind of muddying the waters here. When I look at this cooker, the first thing I think of is that has a very similar shape to a Timberline grill and to some degree a Ironwood grill, both made by Traeger. More the Timberline. Yeah, more the Timberline. So do you think that if Traeger is going after Danson's for kind of muddying the waters with the Founders and, similar colors and, there's some other things that are going on as well. Do you think that Weber's going to be in trouble of Traeger coming after them and saying, hey, you've made a cooker that looks like our Timberline, or are we getting a little ahead of ourselves?
No, I don't. One, Weber's way too careful, and Weber has an army of lawyers. That it's a multi-billion-dollar company, and Traeger is $400 million. Mm-hmm. Weber could buy Traeger.
Yeah,
they could buy him tomorrow. I'm not a big fan of everything that necessarily that Traeger does, but I do think the lawsuit against Danson is justified. Danson came out and said, look, we hired Joe Traeger, and now we're building the Traeger grill. And of course Traeger's going to sue you.
Yeah.
I would.
But can they not use their last name at all?
No, because when they sold the company, the Traeger name went with that. So it's their personal name, but George Foreman sold his name to the Salton Company to be used on the Foreman grill. So he has to get permission to use his name in public.
Oh.
And so does Joe Traeger.
Really?
Technically, yeah. Oh. If it's anything associated with pellet grills, outdoor cooking, grills of any kind, then the Traeger Corporation has the right to come down and say, no, you can't do that. We bought that name when we bought the company.
Got it. All right. So do you have any update on how that thing is going? I know Danson had answered back and said, we're vehemently denying and blah, 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 and we're not doing anything. Is this just going to kind of linger out in court forever and we're all going to forget about it, or is it going to be decided pretty quick?
I would expect Danson to settle something fairly soon.
Yeah.
They've kind of really pulled out of everything that, for a while, they weren't even answering their phones. So it was like trying to get a comment from them, and it's like, there's nothing. You can't get a hold of anybody there, but I don't think they have any choice but to settle. And any lawyer is going to say, yeah, just drop the whole marketing campaign. And I think that's what Traeger wants. Mm-hmm. Take the images out, take the name out. You can't market it this way. Mm-hmm. Danson's can skirt around it by saying, hey, the inventor of the pellet grill helped us design this grill. And if you know who the inventor of the pellet grill is, then you know that name, but we're not going to say it.
Yes, right. Like how you can't say Super Bowl, but you can say the big game, but everybody knows what you're talking about. Yeah.
I mean, if you put out press stuff on saying Super Bowl, they're going to sue you.
Right. Let me ask you quickly about that, Weber. Do you know anything about it other than the sizes? I mean, is it going to be similar? Is there anything that's going to make you go, wow, other than the fact that it's black and has a Weber placard on it?
It has some design differences that you don't find in other places. The the Weber pellet grill is using a vertical pellet feed. So the pellets are actually held in the back down below, and then they kind of go up a bit of an angle to drop into the fire pot, which is kind of a self-cleaning fire pot system. So ash will simply drop out into the bottom, and right next to it is where your grease is going to collect. It uses something, the descriptions, I haven't seen the inside, and that's kind of the tricky bit here. The descriptions are, it's basically using something similar to the flavorizer bars that you find in the gas grills, but I'm not sure how that really works. And it's been conflicting. People have said, oh, there's flavorizers over on one side, but not on another side. And, I don't think there's anything, revolutionary. Yeah. I think it'll be a decent grill. I think it'll be pretty efficient. If you want to spend the extra $130 for Weber Connect, then you can talk to Alexa about what's going on in your pellet grill.
Great.
So, you get that, if that's a thing. I don't know what that's going to do, but you can tell Alexa to order you more Weber pellets.
Of course. Do you have any idea when it might drop?
We'll have it before the end of March.
Okay, so a little while.
It's very vague right now. They're basically saying anytime from January to March. The typical rollout on these is not that quick. It's not like they suddenly have 100,000 units ready to sell all at once. So it'll start showing up in some locations depending upon the retailer and what that retailer wants to give floor space to. But Weber is in virtually every major retailer, so if they want to, they'll be everywhere.
Right. All right. He is one of the newest members of the BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame, class of 2019. You can find him at DerekRiches.com, and absolutely killed this segment as usual. Derek Riches is right here. And Derek, I appreciate you making time for the show, talking about the Hall of Fame, and more importantly, talking about the industry stuff. And let's do it again soon.
Yeah, talk to you next month.
All right, there he is. Book it. Hall of Famer Derek Riches talking about monthly segments. Instant feedback. Derek Riches back on monthly segment, yes or no? I will let you vote the Hall of Famer in or out, and you go. I will talk to you about the Green Mountain Grills, as it were, by the way. So let's talk about portability, right? John Solberg's yes. That's good enough for me. Portability. We are now getting ready to start week 5 of the NFL season. That might be like week 6 of college football. You're into tailgating. You want a pellet cooker. So why not get a Davy Crockett Green Mountain Grill? It's going to go in all the trucks, vans, and SUVs. It gives you wood-fired pellet goodness and flavor. You can actually get a really decent amount of food. And while all the other muni lots across the country are banning charcoal fires, don't worry about it. You can bring this in, stick it into the 12-volt outlet in your car or 12-volt adapter in your car, and you are now powered and ready to go. Cook on it, shut it down, let it cool off, toss it in the back, and away you go home. Meanwhile, you're having great food all the while. Now, if you don't need something that portable, you can get a Jimboui. You can get a Daniel Boone if you want. Both of those also accommodate that pizza oven insert. It's just a great, fun line. Green Mountain Grills. Classic line. You also have that Prime line. I was just on the phone with top men at Green Mountain Grills earlier today. They have some new updates coming potentially at the turn of 2020 that you might want to be on the lookout for. In the meantime, if you're in the market, Prime line, more robust chassis, more features and benefits, the look-in windows on the cooking chamber and on the pellet hopper. Really cool. 2 internal meat probes instead of the one in the classic line. But you can't go wrong with either Wi-Fi technology on them both. GreenMountainGrills.com. That's GreenMountainGrills.com. And we will be back with Dave Bouska of Butcher Barbecue with a major announcement. Stick around. We'll be right back.
continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Craig Rampey.
Hey, this portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard is fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. That's 816-945-2232. That's the Fireboard. I use mine all the time. I use it over the weekend where I was taking internal temperature of really fat steaks because I was reverse searing on my Traeger Timberline, by the way. What? Oh, man. Hold on. That's in my favorites. That's in my favorite. Ooh, oh, dear. Let's go here. See how that works. We'll see. Anyway, I was using Fireboard and it just nails temperatures. You got so many different, up to 6 different inputs. I mean, it's so nice. So if you're thinking about it, definitely give the Fireboard consideration because I use it and it's great. Hey, in let me see. Okay. Joining me now is a longtime sponsor of this show and a hugely successful competition cook. He basically needs no introduction. You've seen him on television too, winning. Dave Bouska from Butcher Barbecue. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Greg. How you doing?
I'm fabulous and appreciate you making time for the show this evening. So let's talk about the 2019 competition season for Butcher Barbecue. How is it going for you?
Oh, we didn't do a lot of cooking this year. We kind of laid low. We purchased a big warehouse back in the first of the year, and we were pretty well concentrating on getting that rolling and set in place. All right. So are you heading to Lynchburg then here in, I believe it would be in a couple weeks to defend the 2018 world title, or is that one not on the radar? Yes. We'll be going then. And are you going to repeat? Just yes or no? Well, heck yeah, we're going to do everything we can. Hell yes, we are. Come on. Unbelievable. I mean, do you, it's an interesting conversation to have, I guess, Dave. I mean, for, however many years you've been really pressing the rubber to the road, as it were, and then with other interests earlier in the year, you weren't cooking as much as you had just said. So is it one of those things where you've just had so much time in competition barbecue and you know the program so well, you don't have to be out cooking 25 or 35 or 40 times before you get into an event like this? You just have it down and you're ready to rock. Well, what I always tell people is competition barbecue is not technology based. It's not a computer. It's not like you can if you don't stay in it, you're going to stay up. But every 2 or 3 years, if you know how to cook, you know how to cook. Mm-hmm. The process is there. It doesn't go out of date, like I was saying, with a computer. So if you know how to run your fire and cook and trim your meat, well, if you do the same process every time, it's still going to be the same. It doesn't matter if you do it twice this month or twice a year. How are you seeing competition barbecue right now? Do you still see it as popular as ever, or are you seeing a bit of a decline at this point? All right, let's cut to the chase here real quick. You're really wanting to talk about this stuff? I thought this was a call as a preliminary for the 2020 BBQ Central Hall of Fame. Now, come on. The guest Hall of Fame, you mean? Yeah, come on. What do you mean? You're already in it, aren't you? You're already in the BBQ Central Show guest Hall of Fame. Hold on a second. Oh, well, then in that case. Now I got to go. Hold on a second. Preliminary call. No. Hold on. Let me call on my pal John Solberg from Michigan. Scroll through the initial class, John, of 2018, and I think Dave Bouska's in there, by the way. So, please confirm that and let me know here ASAP. So, I mean, do you think competition barbecues is as hot as ever, or no? Well, we hit a peak. I say we, Competition Barbecue hit a peak when all the TV shows were on air and just nonstop. Absolutely, it's going to hit a peak, just like NASCAR. NASCAR's not dead either. Golf's not dead either. But when Tiger plays, golf hits a peak. When TV shows are on, it hit a peak. I think there's just, and I don't know the numbers, but I would hazard to bet that they're close to what they were 5 years ago. And it's fell off in the last couple of years as far as contestants and maybe even contest. But is it going away? No, I think things are morphing and changing. But I don't think it's going away.
All right, I have breaking news.
A BBQ Central Show exclusive news update.
This is Greg Rempe reporting from the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio. And it is confirmed, Dave Bouska, BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame inaugural class of 2018. You didn't get the T-shirt and the big fat check, Dave?
I'm pretty sure it's held up in mail.
It has to be. Unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, congratulations.
Exactly.
Do you have an acceptance speech that you've been waiting to give for a year?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, you've provided some of the best segments on the show, whether we've been talking specifically about like the butchery of things or of course the thing that always comes to my mind was the rant on certified Angus beef, which I think is a classic all time. So I mean, over the years you've been an absolute beauty as far as guest is concerned. So you are into the class of 2018, the inaugural class. So make sure you tell everybody that going forward.
I'll make sure that's on my resume.
That's right. So aside from being a world-class pitmaster, you're also very successful on the business side when it comes to live fire, the rubs, the sauces, the injections, marinades, grilling oils, just to name a few things. And the reason really that we're speaking tonight is because of the release of a new product or products into the market, but it's not necessarily what we're used to from the Butcher's Barbecue brand. So why don't you go ahead and hip us to what's happening?
Well, okay. The product is called Wild Seasoning, and it's spelled with a Y, W-Y-L-D Seasoning. It has its own website. It can be found on our Butcher Barbecue site. It has its own Facebook page. We're on the, all the mass media stuff it needs to be on, like you're supposed to be anymore.
Instagram, Twitter, so forth.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. This particular product has been in my mind for a couple of years, maybe even 3, but I know 2 years. I've wanted to do this. I've wanted to do something in sausage world. Didn't know exactly where I wanted to go with it. I am not a big hunter. I don't hunt. I have hunted. I have shot a deer. I have hunted pheasant shot. I have all the small game you can imagine growing up in the country as a kid. But running the meat business, when we had the operation of the meat plant going, we were doing 500 and 600 deer a year. We did absolutely thousands and thousands of pounds of summer sausage, bratwurst, snack sticks. We did all kinds of sausage, and we took all that. And I kept listening and what everybody was wanting and what they asked for. And once we started the barbecue stuff, I was like, man, I'd like to do that, but I just didn't think I had a following for it. Well, we've got enough stores out there now that carry our product, and I've got enough friends in the hunting world as to what's going on, and has stores that has helped us get into hunting and gun and archery stores, because that's kind of my second passion is I shoot archery tournaments.
Yep.
I don't hunt, but back in the first of the year, after we bought the warehouse, I decided it was time to make this go live. I buckled down. We got the labeling. I've got the branding. We got started on all that. And the labeling took a lot longer than I expected getting it approved with the USDA, because there is a couple of the items that was mentioned, and one of them we have blue cheese in it. So that took a little bit, several back and forths from the label company to get USDA approval because we stated blue cheese.
Yeah.
And the wording on that, on the label, we had to put real and artificial flavoring, and then we sent it back, and then they sent it back to us. It had to be a certain percentage height on the front of the label compared to the wording blue cheese. I mean, there was a lot of little particulars, and I learned a lot. You know, that's why I looked at it as, man, this is very informative. Great. But now I've proved this daggum thing. Let's get it going.
Right.
Long story short, it took a long time to get it out this summer. I wanted it out 30 days earlier than we did. It didn't happen. We've got it out now. It's wildseasoning.com. It's found on Facebook. And what we're hanging our hat on is our flavors. We just like in our other stuff, it's our depth of flavors of the product. The summer sausage kits, I'm going to say mixes. The summer sausage mixes, it comes with a cure pack inside the jar, and each one of them makes only 10 pounds of meat, to where there's a lot of sausage mixes out there. You have to do 20 to 25 pounds at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So we took ours a lot lower down to where it's more user-friendly. And some of the flavors we have on them is what I think is going to set us aside from the others. One of them is like the New Mexico hatch chili summer sausage, a jalapeno and bacon flavored summer sausage, a sweet maple bacon summer sausage, the apple and blue cheese summer sausage. That's what it is. I didn't want your traditional jalapeno cheese or just plain summer sausage. We can get that anywhere. What stands ours aside and will make it different? And so I went with that same look, aspect, thought process on our bratwurst. I went with 4 different flavors of bratwurst. We have a sweet applewood smoked bratwurst, habanero and mango flavored bratwurst, a beer bratwurst, and then herb and tomato bratwurst. There again, we don't have just your traditional bratwurst. The most traditional one would be the beer brat. That's going to be the closest to an original found anywhere type bratwurst.
So if I'm going to wildseasoning.com and then I get one of these mixes, I'm going to be generating the sausage part on my side, and then I'm going to be using your seasonings to kind of finish the whole deal.
Yes, what you can do is it can be used with ground pork and ground beef. Absolutely. Doesn't have to be just deer meat or possum or whatever you want to use. Let's take like the bratwurst mixes.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have all the equipment or you don't have a hand stuffing machine to put it in the casings to make the real pretty lengths and stuff, you can take bratwurst and just make a patty out of it. Let it season overnight. We highly recommend on any sausage products, let it set overnight before cooking and or freezing. So if you make up 10 pounds of bratwurst, let it sit in your fridge overnight, then freeze it. Just like anything else, it's dried spices. They got to rehydrate and melt into the meat to fully flavor. That's the best way. That's what we've even done it on meat shops. We would make our breakfast sausage. It's set overnight. We put it in the freezer. That's the best way to get your best flavored sausage. If you want to make this bratwurst, you don't have the casings, you don't have a stuffing machine. We sell the casings. Let's throw that out there. But you can make a patty. These things will make the best flavored hamburger patties you'll ever have, and make a juicy, great burger out of it. So you can make yourself a habanero and mango flavored hamburger patty.
These would be recipes. So, I mean, will you furnish recipes as well on the website, or like for the meat side of things, for the bratwurst or for the summer sausage, or this is something that you should have before you get the mixes?
The method of making or a recipe?
Yeah, I guess maybe both.
The process?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the recipe is real simple. You take 10 pounds of your meat.
Yeah.
You add this product to it. Mix it up. It's done.
Okay.
Okay. We do have a full set of instructions for summer sausage and bratwurst making on the website. And down at the bottom of the page, we have a printable link for you to print it out and take it into your kitchen, and then you don't get your laptop, iPad, anything all messy. So we do have something that you can print out, yes. But making bratwurst is fairly simple after you have the ground product, yes.
All right. And you are getting into not only online, but into the brick and mortar stores as well?
Yes, we've got several of the stores have already brought it online. We are working with a lot of podcasters that are in the hunting world. We are working with a couple, but the one big one that we're working with is a hunting show that's on locally. I can say the name. We've already inked a contract. We did a full contract. It's called Buck Ventures. A lot of people know Jeff Danker. He's on the Outdoors Channel. He is 1.5 million viewers a week on the TV show. He is the Outdoors Channel's largest viewer from the month of October last year. I mean, he has got a huge show. He lives 5 miles from me.
Really?
Yes. So we did his deer for many years, and he always told me, hey, if you ever come up with something, holler at me. He's got 150 pro staff shooters, hunters scattered around the United States that hunts for him, with him, that brand his product. He's in every academy in the United States, Bass Pro, Cabela's. He's all over. We inked a deal. We're going to be doing advertisements / cooking segments on his show.
Nice.
That's what we got. Yeah. Next week we start filming the cooking segments next week.
Well, I mean, you're always looking to branch out. You know, I mean, you had originally, I remember when, Butcher's Barbecue was really just injections, and then the rub started coming out, and then it was bird boosters, and then it was grilling oils, and now you're going into a whole different, I mean, kind of in the same vein, but in a completely different vein altogether at the same time with the Wild Seasonings. Again, the website wildseasonings.com. Is there anything else new in the hopper, or are we good for now?
Well, all this particular, we got what I'm calling topicals. We got spices that go along with it. We got the Timberline Rub, Wild Addiction, hence like Grilling Addiction, Mountain Stream Seasoning, which is like a seafood type product. Frontier Cabin Chili. Heck, who doesn't like deer chili?
Yep.
Desert Dust, which is a low sugar product. It's got that brown, sagey look like you see a lot of the black rubs do. It's just a very low sugar rub. We sell the casings and stuff that go along with the sausages. We've got all that going. I've already got in my head what I want to roll out next year in this line, which would be another 5 items.
Wow.
Whole new area to go with it. Barbecue, I've got something I'm working on now. It's a liquid product. I've had some test product at my place for about a month, and I've yet to have a chance to stop and cook with it. But I've got something I'm wanting to roll there. There's just so much that I want to do and roll with now that we've got the warehouse that's in our own hands. We can control it. But then we got to stop, and as marketing, I always look at it at what market share is there, what void does it fill, and how many voids will it fill?
Right.
That's the number one thing is you can have a great product, but if no one really needs it, what's it going to do for you?
Right.
Yeah.
Great product that you're going to buy a lot of yourself, and nobody else is going to buy it.
That's right, man. I've got a few of them sitting there.
Every once in a while, right? Yeah, Dave Bouska joining us here on the show, and the new product is Wild Seasoning, and it's wildseasoning.com, own website, and a whole bunch of great stuff. So if you're into sausage making and the whole game scene, that's what you're going to want to take a look at. And then when will you be will you be on television doing these cooking segments, and when will that be happening?
Yes, we start filming. It's either going to be Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. We're going to do 8 different advertisements throughout the day, one day. If I'm not mistaken, it starts November 1st with this show. Yeah.
All right, cool. So we'll look for that. And as you get the updates, send them through me, and then we'll disseminate, of course, through the weekly show here on the BBQ Central Show. In the meantime, it's Dave Bouska of Butcher Barbecue and Wild Seasoning. And as he had just learned, a 2018 class of the BBQ Central Show Guest Hall of Fame. David, always appreciate the time, my friend, and the sponsorship of the show. We'll do it again soon.
Greg, thanks a lot, bud.
You got it. There he is, Dave Bouska of Butcher Barbecue, right there on the show. And man, oh man, absolutely prolific and smelling what the need is, and of course having great contacts. I mean, having that hunter 5 miles from you certainly isn't going to hurt anything by any stretch, and having that kind of a pull within the industry, I mean, 1.5 million viewers every week to a show, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, it's no BBQ Central Show numbers, but few are. I received a podcast link, or not a podcast link, but an article on podcasting. And it broke down like the 4 biggest, like Jeff Ferris and Joe Rogan and Johnny Lee Dumas. There was somebody else. And these guys are making, many monies. And then it broke down, like, of all of the other podcasts on the face of the earth, the average download is like 300 out of 30 days. 300. Good news, bad news. I'm way above that. Way above that. That was, all of a sudden I was thinking, if they just would have extended this article out to 6, you'd see your boy right there. Yeah. Way more than 300 outside of 30 days. I mean, give me a break. All right, that was Dave Bouska, Butcher Barbecue, butcherbbq.com, his website. And we are back to wrap the show up right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is John Dawson of Patio Daddy-O Barbecue in Boise, Idaho, and I've got it locked on the 50,000 gigawatt blowtorch of the internet that is Barbecue Central.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
The Smoke Sheet is a free weekly newsletter that keeps you in the know on everything happening in the barbecue world, including top news, events, recipes, and more. Started by Ryan Cooper and Sean Ludwig, both of them traveling around the country to find the best barbecue news and then report on it. You can sign up for the newsletter and see the full events on their barbecue calendar at bbqnewsletter.com, a great all-in-one resource covering the live fire industry. That's the Smoke Sheet. I got to mention in it for tomorrow, I believe. By the way, thank you, John, both on confirming that Dave Bouska is a Barbecue Central Show guest Hall of Famer. And the Wild Seasoning spelling is WYLD seasoning.com. That's WYLD, wildseasoning.com. Let's go ahead and make tracks out all the way back in the first hour. We spoke with first Tuesday of the month regular guest Malcom Reed. Talked about barbecue trailer shopping. Talked about competition chicken thighs. Talked about his induction into the 2019 class Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame. Then we talked with Angel Todd. No team name, but she's going to be competing at the World Food Championship. Scratch that. She's going to be competing at the Steak Cook-Off Association World Championships in Fort Worth, Texas this coming weekend. So we wish her great success. Second hour, Derek Riches made a reappearance. Also part of the 2019 class of the Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame. We also talked about the Weber pellet cooker and pellet cookers' rise to prominence in general. He also offered up a monthly segment invitation for himself, I believe, if I wasn't mistaken. And then we close it out with Dave Bouska, Butcher Barbecue, butcherbbq.com, and wildseasoning.com. That's WYLD, wildseasoning.com. The new products are out. If you like sausage, bratwurst, summer sausage, she's got the hookup. Wildseasoning.com. I will be out of pocket next Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month. Steve Ray, host of the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show, will be in my absence, so there will be a live show. Meathead is in. Also, Jealous Devil Charcoal is in. We may or may not line up a additional guest, but we'll keep you informed during the course of the week. I'll be back on the 15th to pull it up from there. So tune in and see how John handles the show. He does a bang-up job. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9. Until next Tuesday for Steve and 2 weeks of Tuesdays for me. This is your program host and proud U.S. American Greg Rempe. Good night now.